bring the jury in, do I need to talk to your client about his election to testify or any questions that you might have regarding your client's testimony?
Your Honor, I have explained those rights to him. I don't know if it would be necessary for the purpose of the record, but he does understand his rights.
Yes, sir. Bring in Jimmy Martin for me, please, sir.
I'll say this, Your Honor, before Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
This is Mr. Martin. And this will be made an exhibit, talked about in front of the jury. And I think the court already knows this too. Defense counsels have had this for years. You've made reference to it already. There is a memorandum of understanding that was executed in 2012.
Yes, sir.
With regard to Mr. Martin. That provided Mr. Martin what is called use immunity.
Yes, sir.
Which would be the truthful statements made by him at that time, here, now, whenever, about this case would not be used against him at any proceeding. So he does have this use immunity memorandum of understanding that will make an exhibit and that has been provided to everybody.
Yes, sir. We have that marked as next exhibit. Mr. Jimmy Martin, raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you will give in this case is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God? Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Martin, have a seat right here, please, sir. Mr. Martin, good afternoon, sir. Mr. Martin, if you will, please state your name and spell it for the record and the court reporter, please, sir.
Jimmy Martin. Jimmie.
Yes, sir.
Martin.
Mr. Martin, you have an attorney who represents you. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Your attorney for the record is?
James Jones.
And he's present in court today. Is that correct? Ms. Jones, Ms. Martin's looking for you.
There you go. Yes, sir.
On the first row, I believe a brown or tan suit, brown suit, I believe. And Mr. Jones is your lawyer and has been your lawyer for how long, sir?
For 8 years.
8 years. You have a case that's actively pending in court right now.
Yes.
And what court is that in?
It's in James Lemon Court.
In Division 5 Criminal Court, Judge Lammy. And Mr. Jones is your lawyer on that case, is that correct?
Correct.
And it's actively in court, is that correct?
Correct.
You understand that you cannot be called as a witness in this case when you have a case that's pending. You're represented by an attorney unless you and your lawyer tell me to Judge Coffey, I'm willing to testify in this case. You understand that, sir?
Correct.
If you and Mr. Jones tell me Judge Coffey, Martin has a case that's pending, he wants to exercise any Fifth Amendment rights against any possible self-incrimination, and he's chosen not to testify as a witness, nobody will call you. You can't even be called and have the jury and tell the jury that on the witness stand. I would tell that your name would never be mentioned. You understand that, sir?
Correct.
Now, if you tell me, and Mr. James Jones told me to Judge Coffey, I talked to Mr. Martin. He understands his constitutional rights. He understands the consequences of testifying as a witness in this case against Mr. Billy Turner, and that he's willing to waive those rights, that he's willing to testify as a witness and answer questions truthfully. Now, that's 100% your decision. You understand that, sir?
Correct.
And again, I told you nobody can call you as a witness unless you tell me you want to testify. Mr. Jones is giving you advice as to what you should do, but whether or not you take this witness stand and testify is 100% up to you. Do you understand that, sir?
Correct.
And have you talked to Mr. Jones about this in order to make an informed decision as to what you want to do, Mr. Martin?
Yes, sir.
And your decision now is to do what, sir?
Proceed.
I'm sorry, say it again.
Proceed.
To proceed and testify, is that correct?
Correct.
Does anyone threaten you, promise anything, put any force or pressure on you in order to get you to make that decision, sir?
No, sir.
You have your lawyer present. He'll be here throughout the course of your testimony. If you have any questions, but if you tell me to just call, if I need to talk to my lawyer, you let me know, and I'll give you a chance to talk to your attorney. You understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Any questions, sir?
No, sir.
And for the record, I'm going to find that Mr. Jimmy Martin has been advised by his attorney, Mr. James Jones, and his court that since he is in fact represented by an attorney, does have a case pending in these criminal courts, that he has a Fifth Amendment right against possible self-incrimination, that he cannot be called to, cannot be compelled to give testimony in this case against Mr. Billy Turner, and that he understands that is in fact his personal right, and that he has waived intelligently, knowingly, and voluntarily his right to remain silent and will, in fact, allow the state to call Mr. Martin as a witness, as Mr. Martin has told me that his desire is to testify in this case. We'll bring the jury in and also introduce Mr. Jones and make sure that the jury understands that Mr. Martin's lawyer is here. There were some statements made on voir dire, or maybe opening statements. And I want to make sure that we don't do that again. Tennessee law says that a jury can never be apprised of a possible punishment in a case. Can't talk about it, can't tell the jury about it, can never be discussed unless it's a capital murder case and you voir dire in a jury on the death penalty, life without possibility of parole, or life imprisonment. And there were some statements made that indicated that Mr. Martin had been convicted of a certain offense and was sentenced to a certain number of years in prison. And that's something that we can't do. Jurors cannot understand, can never be told what the possible punishment is for any convictions of any criminal crimes, specifically prohibited by our legislature and by the Supreme Court. So if there's some questions that want to be asked as to whether or not he's being convicted of a crime, serving sentence for a crime, cannot talk about what the particular sentence is, cannot talk about what the charge may have been and of what he was actually convicted, because that tells his jury necessarily what the possible punishment is on this case and any other included offenses that the court might charge. And our legislature and the statute says that a jury can never be informed about the possible punishment because sentencing is something that the jury does not consider. As I told the jury in their preliminary instructions, if there is a conviction on this case, the court would set the punishment at a separate sentence, and here on the jury would not be involved in setting punishment. And the Supreme Court has been clear that no parties, including the judge, can tell the jury what the range of punishment is or possible punishment is, and will order all lawyers to avoid making any references to punishment. What Mr. Martin may have been charged with, what he pled guilty to, was convicted of by a jury, and what his sentence was. Those are not permissible questions. We'll order both sides to stay away from any issues dealing with specific punishment. Are both sides ready to proceed? Deb Smith, can you bring in the jury, please, sir? Yes, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we say that. Mr. Martin, I swore in outside of the presence of the jury, but if you can step down from the witness stand and he swore you in front of the jury, please, sir. Raise your right hand, place your left hand on the Bible, please, sir. Mr. Martin, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you were given in this case be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you God? Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Martin, have a seat up here, please, sir. And we did this a few minutes ago, but for the record, Mr. Martin, if you could state and spell your name for the jury and the court reporter in the record, please, sir.
Jimmy Martin, Jimmiemmartin.
Mr. Martin, for the purposes of this record and the jury, you have a case that's pending in court. I think you told me a few minutes ago, Judge Lammy's court. Is that correct?
Yes, I have a post-conviction pen.
Okay. And you're represented by a lawyer on that case. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And your lawyer for the record and for the jury is who, sir?
James Jones.
Mr. James Jones, you stand up for a moment, Mr. Jones. Thank you, sir. Mr. Jones has been representing you for how long now, sir?
8 years.
8 years. Mr. Jones, thank you, sir. Thank you for being in court this afternoon. Mr. Martin, I told you a few minutes ago that because you have a case that's pending, you have a lawyer that you cannot be called as a witness in this case unless you and your lawyer tell me that you're willing to testify under oath and listen to questions that are asked by both sides. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
And I told you that that there's your personal right that if you chose to waive any possible rights against self-incrimination, you will be allowed to testify. If you told me to Judge Coffey I choose not to testify, I told you that you cannot be compelled to testify. You understand it, sir?
Yes, sir.
You told me a few minutes ago that you wanted to testify. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, is that your decision, sir?
Yes, sir.
Has anyone threatened you, promised anything, put any force or pressure on you in order to get you to make that decision, Mr. Martin?
No, sir.
And I also told you that if someone asks a question of you and you need to talk to Mr. Jones to let me know, I will allow you to consult or talk to your lawyer. You understand that, sir?
Correct.
You have any questions, sir?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Hagerman, you may proceed.
All right, Mr. Martin, keep your voice up. Keep it up for me. You're doing good, okay?
Okay.
A little bit louder.
All right.
Okay, that's good. Before we start, I'm going to ask you about things that happened 10 years ago, okay? And actually, before that, I'm going to ask about things that happened more than 10 years ago. But I want to ask you, am I approaching?
Yes, sir, you may.
Do you recognize this document here?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is it a document from 2012?
Yes, sir.
In fact, is it what is called a memorandum of understanding, a agreement that provides what's called use immunity with regard to your information?
Correct.
And is it signed by you?
Yes, sir.
And it's also signed by prosecutors long before me in 2012. Is that correct?
Correct.
And I've reviewed this document with you. Is that correct?
Correct.
Your attorneys back then reviewed the document with you. Is that correct?
Correct.
And Mr. Jones has seen it too. Is that right?
Correct.
In 2012, did you agree and actually come forward to talk to investigators with regard to the case involving the murder of Lorenzo Wright?
Yes, sir.
And at the time you did that, was this agreement, this memorandum of understanding, signed by you and signed by the district attorneys at the time?
I believe it was afterwards, but at the same time, yes. Around the same time.
And this agreement that I've explained to you, and your attorneys explained to you previously, provides that you will tell the truth at all times, the whole truth, and nothing about the truth. That you'll waive your rights and you'll do those things. And if you do, the state of Tennessee agrees, I'm reading this, agrees that no statement made by you pursuant to this will be presented to any grand jury, petit jury, or any finder of fact, nor will it use any such statement as a basis for any indictment, information, warrant, or other charging instrument concerning the subject offenses. Does that sound familiar to you? A lot of legal talk. Does that sound familiar?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Does that mean to you that if you tell the truth, the things you say cannot be used against you to charge you with this conspiracy to kill Lorenzo Wright?
Correct.
I'd like to offer this into evidence that jury has as a state sex offender.
Spare Mr. Thomas, any objections? No, yeah. The record is exhibit number 7272. This is a memorandum of understanding entered into by Jimmy Martin in the state of Tennessee, signed by Mr. Martin, signed by Mr. Thomas Henderson, Thomas Henderson, Henderson, as an assistant district attorney general, and also signed by Mr. Martin's then counsel, exhibit number 72, a memorandum of understanding. You may proceed, Mr. Hagerman.
I told you, Mr. Martin, that we're going to talk about something that happened 10 years ago. It's a long time ago, right? Let's start even before that, okay? Where are you from?
I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, but I grew up in Batesville, Mississippi.
You born in Memphis?
Yeah, born, raised, well,
When did you start living in Batesville?
probably when I was young.
Okay. Do you even remember when y'all moved
I don't
from
know.
Memphis to Batesville?
I thought I was in the same spot.
Okay. And who raised you down in Batesville?
I was raised by my mother
All right. And what's your mother's name?
in the Richardson.
And did you go to school down in Batesville?
Yes, sir.
Where'd you go to school in Batesville?
South Another High School.
Did Did you play any sports there?
No, sir.
Did you graduate from South Panola?
Graduated.
And what did you do after you left South Panola?
I enlisted to the United States Navy.
And were you in the Navy?
Yeah, I was in the Navy.
How long were you in the Navy?
I did 8 years in the Navy.
8 years. What did you do in the Navy?
I was a hospital corpsman.
Hospital corpsman?
Yes, sir.
And what did that involve?
It involved LPN work. I was like a licensed practitioner nurse.
Okay. And where all were you stationed in the Navy?
I was stationed in San Diego, Chicago, Millington, Seattle.
You ever on a carrier?
I was on the USS Abraham Lincoln.
For how long?
I did about a year on the carrier, 6 months out to sea.
Where all in this world have you been?
I've been to Portugal, Spain, Africa, Italy, Singapore, Thailand, Australia, Canada, Mexico,
Around the world.
around the world.
All in the Navy?
Yes, sir.
Did you like being in the Navy?
Yes, sir.
After 8 years, did you leave it though?
After 8 years, I left. This would be closer to home. This would be to take care of moms.
And where'd you move back to after you left the Navy?
I moved back to Memphis.
Was your mom living in Memphis or Batesville?
She was living in Batesville at the time.
And just so we know about how far is Memphis from Batesville, how long does it take you?
30 minutes.
Not particularly far.
Not far at all.
What were you doing when you were living in Memphis and coming down to Batesville? Did you have a job after you left the Navy?
When I left the Navy, I got employed with Pediatrics East.
What was that kind of business?
It was I was a nurse with Pediatrics East in Memphis,
Okay.
or Germantown.
How long did you do that for?
I did that for a couple of months, about probably 6 months.
Okay. Did you stop doing that?
Yeah, I went to school. I got enrolled in school at Vatterott. I went to IT work to do IT work. That's what really my passion is. IT.
Is IT stuff? Did you complete your courses there at Vatterott?
During the course, a fatal accident happened. I ended up in jail.
I'm not going to ask you about that, but there will be some questions as we go about whether or not you had a case going on at the time, whether or not you had an attorney at the time, whether or not you're out on bond, things like that.
Okay.
But I'm not going to ask you about the subject matter of the case that you had going on. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, what is your relationship, or do you have a relation with Cheryl Ray?
Cheryl Wright is my cousin.
Okay, and what's the family tree there?
She'll be my first cousin. She's my mother's sister's daughter.
Okay, she's your mother's sister's daughter.
Correct.
And growing up, did you see much of Cheryl Ray?
Growing up, I did.
Growing up, you did? When you came back to Memphis after the Navy, did you see much of Cheryl Ray?
Not much as I did growing up.
I'm going to ask you about seeing Cheryl Ray in May of 2010. Okay? But first, I want to ask you about the other things you had going on in 2010, 2009. After you stopped nursing, after you stopped going to school, were you also trying to be a musician?
At the time, throughout my whole career in the Navy, I was dealing with the music industry.
Okay, what kind of music did you do?
I did, well, me personally, I did rap, but I produced rap, R&B, grunge.
And that was stuff that you did while you were in the Navy, is that right?
Correct.
And is it stuff that you kept on doing?
That I continue to do.
Did you have a rap name?
Yes.
What was your rap name?
It was Trickster.
Trickster?
Yeah.
And did you perform shows and concerts?
Yes, sir.
to jump back 12 years. May of 2010, okay? Did you have, or did Shara Wright approach you with any sort of proposition?
May Shara came to Batesville. She was telling me about that Ren needed somebody to take care of his Rottweilers.
Okay, so that Shara came to baseball. Is that weird or not?
Not particularly.
Okay.
She'll come down and visit my mom. So when she had told me she had a job for me, well, actually, Ren had already told me prior to it that he wanted me to come up there and train his Rottweiler the same way I trained my dog.
Okay, and you train dogs, is that right?
Correct.
I didn't ask this before. Did you know Lorenzen Wright?
Yeah. And Ren was close. So,
So Shara comes to baseball and asks you about the Rottweilers.
yeah.
All right. Go
So I'm
ahead.
thinking this was she come down and talk to me about. But when she brings me to Memphis, I get to the house and the whole subject matter changed.
All right, so let me interrupt you here. She comes to Batesville, is that correct?
Correct.
And you go back to Memphis?
Go to Memphis.
Do you remember 12 years ago? Do you remember whether or not you went back with her, or
Yeah, I
you
went.
met her back up there, or what?
I went back with her.
Okay. And where'd y'all go to?
Went to her house.
Had you ever been to her house before?
Not this house.
Not this house? And you said the subject matter changed.
Yeah, subject matter changed, completely changed.
What do you mean by that?
It went from, I got a job for you, that I'm thinking I'm talking about the dogs, to a ploy to kill Lorenzen Wright.
Ploy to kill Lorenzen Wright.
Correct.
What'd you think about that?
What I thought about it was that Shara going through some things. She, everybody go through things where they just talking off the wall, where they just losing their mind.
And did you know her well? Did you know Shara well?
Yeah, I knew her well.
Would you describe her as the most stable person?
I wouldn't describe it as stable,
So you figure she was just talking.
just talking.
What'd you say to her when this subject matter came up?
It's not the business you want to be in.
Not the business you want to be in. Do you know why she had come to you for this?
Oh, the only reason I can just, she didn't say why. The only thing that comes to my mind is that I was in a particular bind.
Okay, and so we've got to talk around it because other cases can be brought up, everything. We've got to talk around it. But at the time this happens in May of 2010, do you have criminal charges against you?
Correct.
And would it be fair to say, not saying you did it or you didn't, fair to say violent criminal charges?
Correct.
Okay. Had Shara and Lorenzen been involved in anything having to do with your court case?
Shara or Lorenzen?
Yes.
Yeah, Shara, actually, my mom contacted her for lawyer advice, and she recommended a lawyer to my mom.
Okay.
So she knew about what I had pending.
Okay. And when you're arrested for the court case, are you given a bond?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know how was your attorney and your bond paid for?
My bond was paid for by me and my friends and family.
Okay. How about your attorney?
My attorney was paid for by me. The first what you call it, retainer.
The first part was paid by you. How about parts after that?
The parts after that by family and friends.
Okay. Was Shara involved at all in paying
Yeah.
for the attorney?
Yes, she was involved on the second trial.
This charge goes on for a while and has several hearings and things like that.
Yeah. Went on for
Because it has several hearings, the attorney has to be paid several different times.
several different
Is that
times.
correct?
Correct.
At some point, did Shara pay for the attorney?
Correct.
All right, so that's not the business you want to be in. What happens after you tell her that?
After that, they get into a brainstorming session on, well, if we do this, how best to do it.
And is this at the house?
This is at the house.
Is there anybody else at the house?
I would say it was me, Billy, Shara, and a pregnant lady.
Pregnant lady?
I don't know her name.
Okay. We'll start with those names, though. Obviously, we know who Shara is and we know who you are. You say Billy. Who's Billy?
That's what I know him as Billy,
Okay.
but
And how did you know him at all?
through Shara.
Through Shara. And did you know what his relationship to Shara was?
No.
Had you ever met with Billy or talked with Billy previous to May of 2010 when this meeting took
I
place?
may have met Billy before, but I don't remember any, dealings with him.
Okay. So you didn't have a relationship or
No.
anything with Mr. Turner, Billy Turner, before
Right, so-
May of 2010?
No, sir.
When Shara's talking about this business that she shouldn't be in, killing Lorenzo, is Billy Turner there?
Yes, sir.
Obviously you're there. Is this pregnant lady there?
Yes, sir.
And you described it as what, brainstorming?
Like brainstorming, they were coming up with ways of how to best, perform the act,
Okay, and what act are we talking about?
the murder of the prisoner.
All right. And you say they were coming up with
I
ways.
mean, we were.
You were too, weren't you?
Yeah.
Do you remember details about ways y'all talked about?
I mean, it was a lot of details, but yeah, I remember some details.
What are the details? I know this is 12 years ago, but what are the details you remember?
It was like just, you got to catch them somewhere where there ain't a lot of people.
Catching somewhere where there are not a lot of people?
Yeah,
Okay.
things like that nature.
Do you remember, like, who suggested what details? Do you remember what details you suggested?
I couldn't tell you. I couldn't remember.
At any time, did anybody in the meeting, did you ever stand up in the middle of the meeting and, throw your arms up and say, this is crazy, I'm running out the door and going to the police?
No.
No. Did Billy Turner, did he ever stand up, throw his arms up and say, this is crazy, I'm running out and going to the police?
No.
And the pregnant female,
No.
and obviously Miss Wright didn't either.
No.
How does this meeting, conversation, whatever you want to brainstorm in, how does it conclude? What happens?
Concluded with everybody just went their separate ways. Once everybody got tired, it was time getting late. Everybody just went their separate ways. It wasn't like we write down anything.
This wasn't like a board meeting.
It
was
wasn't board meeting.
Nobody was taking minutes, I assume. And from this meeting, was there any hard, detailed plan that had been hatched yet?
No, not at all.
The idea to kill Lorenzo.
Just the idea. So to me, it was like people just getting stuff off their chest. It wasn't real. It's not going to happen.
Okay. Were you hoping it happened or hoping it didn't happen?
I was hoping it didn't happen.
Where did you go after this meeting? Do you remember?
I head back to Batesville.
Do you remember if you went yourself or did somebody drive you, or do you not remember?
I really don't remember. But I know they drove. I didn't drive.
Okay, you know you didn't drive.
Yeah, I didn't drive up there.
Okay. Do you remember how you feel? I mean, do you remember how you feel after that? Do you feel like you're getting to be part of something bigger, or you just
No, it
what's
just
going on?
felt surreal. Like it's not really happening. It's just a fantasy somebody having.
Okay. Well, what happens next with regard to this thing?
Boy, I tell you, what's going on with the ploy?
Yeah.
That's when they called me up there for a second meeting.
Okay. When you say they called you up there, what you talking
Well, I
about?
mean, I don't mean they as in most people called, but
Okay. What do you mean?
I mean, Cheryl called me up there. She called and said, I'm coming to pick you up.
Okay. Did she come down to Batesville again?
And then she come down to Batesville.
And are we still in May of 2010?
Yes, around that time.
Okay. And does she in fact pick you up?
Yes, sir.
And where did she take you?
She took me back to her place.
And is there anybody else at her house the second time?
I believe it was me, Billy, Sheriff Billy, and some other gentleman. I don't know who it was.
Where were y'all at in the house when y'all talked about stuff?
We was in the kitchen.
Was this other gentleman who said you don't know who he is, where was he at in the house when y'all talked about stuff?
He was in the living room.
Do you know if he was part of this thing or not?
I don't know who he was. I thought he was probably just someone there, just there.
And through the years, have police showed you pictures and asked you if that's the person or that's the person, stuff like that?
Yes, sir.
But this is a person you said you don't know.
I don't know. After that day, we had no other meetings with this guy.
Never saw him again.
No problem.
This second time, Billy's there, Shara there. Is the pregnant lady there the second time?
I don't believe so.
What's discussed the second time?
The second time, this was when we talked about the equipment that we need to perform the act.
All right. When you say equipment and the act, let's talk about both those things just right out in the open. What kind of equipment are you talking about?
What are you talking about? Deadly weapons, guns.
Weapons. Are those the kind of weapons y'all talked about? Guns?
Guns.
And the act, what are we talking about?
The murder of the ring.
This second time, are there more detailed plans?
Yes, there's more detailed plans and there's weapons involved.
All right. What kind of weapons are there? Do you know?
It was just
generally.
It was just a couple of guns.
Do you remember how many guns?
I believe either 2 or 3.
2 or 3 guns? And do you remember who provided these guns, like where they came from or anything?
I don't know who had them. It was already there.
Okay, you didn't. Did you bring them up there?
I ain't bring.
And when you got out of the car with Shara, did you see whether or not Shara had guns on her when y'all got out of the car?
She didn't have them on.
She didn't have them on? Okay, so these guns were there when you and Shara got back from
When we got
Mexico.
there.
Did y'all discuss who was going to do what with these guns?
There's a lot of discussion on who would do what. It was just
Tell me
mainly it was okay if you go. Like if I go, I'm gonna take one of them with me and go do it on my own.
go where?
Wherever the chosen spot, which
Okay.
was not hashed out yet.
Okay. Chosen spot not hashed out. But if you're going to go and do it, you're going to take a gun.
We're gonna take one.
Okay. And how about Billy?
If Billy was chosen to do it, he would take just one.
And you said chose. Who was going to choose who does what, or is there a leader, or what's going on?
Only way I could see that it was a leader of what was going on was Sheriff was dictating what
Okay,
was
Shara was dictating. Even though there wasn't a specific spot picked out, did y'all talk about possible spots?
Yeah, we talked about possible areas.
Do you remember now any of those areas that y'all talked about?
I remember one area was Atlanta.
Atlanta? And do you know where Lorenzo was living back there?
Yes, sir.
Where is he living?
He was living in a condominium complex.
The condominium complex in Atlanta?
Atlanta.
Was there talk about if it was done in Atlanta, who was going to go do it?
Yes, sir.
And what was that?
It was me.
It was going to be you.
Yes, sir.
And again, you didn't jump up, raise your arms up in the air, and said, I'm going to run out of here and call the police.
No, sir.
Why didn't you? Not
Because-
necessarily call the police, but why were you still sitting there listening to this and agreeing to this?
Because when someone comes to you with a murder plot, if they're planning to kill someone they love, you're like the lowest man on the totem pole. They have no problem killing you.
Did you feel pressured?
Yeah, there was a lot of pressure.
Did you in any way feel indebted to Shara?
No, sir.
You didn't feel like you owed her anything?
No, sir.
To your knowledge, was she paying for your attorney just
Not
because?
at this time.
She wasn't paying for her attorney yet. I understand. But what happens at the end of this meeting?
At the end of this meeting, that's when everybody went there separated the same way. We still haven't hashed out where to go. I'm actually stalling this meeting out. I'm throwing stuff out there that never worked.
What do you say, stalling and throwing stuff out that never worked? Who are we talking about?
Because I'm thinking like, nah, we're not gonna do this. Y'all crazy. You lose your mind. But I don't want to say this to a crazy person.
You saw a crazy person, you know about Sheriff.
Yeah. I don't want to rock the boat and then they want to X me out.
Do you remember Billy saying anything in particular at this meeting?
Man, I felt the same consensus from Billy. Like, this was crazy.
You felt the same consensus from Billy, meaning you got the sense that he thought this conversation was crazy
Yes.
too. But he was sitting there like you,
Yeah.
part of this thing.
Because once you're involved in conspiracy, either way you go, if it happens and you go tell it, man, the police come down on you. See, that's how we look at it.
She had driven you to this meeting from Batesville, is that correct?
Correct.
When you left this meeting, where'd you go?
Well, when I left the meeting, I was handed the car keys and was told it was Billy's car and to take it back with me.
Okay, so you were
Take
given
myself to back to Batesville.
you were given Billy's car to go back to Batesville.
I don't know who. It said it was Billy's car.
You don't know if it was Billy's car or not.
Correct.
Do you remember what kind of car it was, what kind of color it was, or anything?
I know it was I believe it was a gunmetal colored Dodge.
And I tell you what, I'm going to pass you a picture, ask you to ignore all this damage to it, but ask you to look at the color, look at the type of car, and tell me if that is a similar car, similar color.
It's a similar car and similar color.
All right, have that marked as license number.
Here, Thomas, please. Here comes interjections.
No objection, Your Honor.
This will be exhibit number 7373. Photograph describing Mr. Martin as a gun-colored car. It appears to be the same car, similar model, similar color as the car he was driven to drive back to Batesville. Exhibit number 73.
I told you to ignore all the damage to it when I showed it to you, right? Right, Mr.
Yeah.
Martin? My apologies. Would you read it?
Yes, sir, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You were told this was Billy's car.
Yes,
Who
yes,
told
sir.
you that? You remember?
Sheriff.
What did you do with this car after the car keys are handed to you?
Probably headed to Mississippi, to Batesville.
Did anything happen while you were driving this car when you were on your way to Mississippi?
I remember one detail that just stuck out was that Sheriff called me and told me when I get there, look in the trunk.
When you get there, look in the trunk.
Yes, sir.
Did you stop the car and immediately look in the trunk, or did you continue on your way?
Continue on my way.
Once you got there, what'd you do?
Well, when I got there, I opened the trunk, and it was some guns in the trunk, marijuana, and some money.
Do you remember how much money?
I don't remember how much money, about $300, $500.
And this, things that happened 12 years ago, I'm not going to ask you to guess about, okay?
Okay.
So, do you remember exactly how much money it was or not?
No, sir.
Do you remember how many guns were in there?
It was 3.
Do you remember what kind of guns they were?
Yes, sir.
What kind of guns were they?
It was 25, 38, and Magnum.
All right, 25, a 38, and a Magnum.
And
When you say Magnum, that means to me it's like a 357 Magnum, a big gun.
Correct.
Is that what it was?
357 Magnum.
Well, now you're in Batesville. You got 3 guns and some money. You say some marijuana too?
Marijuana.
What do you do?
Yeah. You got money in my weed, I'm good.
You got money in your weed, you felt you're good.
Yeah.
What'd you do with the 3 guns?
I ain't got rid of them.
What do you mean by got rid of them?
Sold.
Sold. So now you
Well, I
have
ain't
weed.
sell. I sold one of them.
You sold one of them?
So
Do you remember which one you sold?
38.
Do you remember how much money you got for that 38?
Nah, I don't remember.
So now you had some money and some more money and some weed and 2 guns.
Correct.
What happens next as part of this scheme or whatever?
Okay, I get a call from Sheriff to tell me to asking me to head to Atlanta and that the resident should be at his condo.
And if I'm right, we had started in May. Would this be in June of 2010?
I believe around that time.
Asking you to head to his condo.
Correct.
Did y'all talk about you and Cheryl when she asked you to head to his condo? You know what that meant, right?
I already knew it, man.
You knew what that meant. Did y'all talk about what exactly you were going to do when you get there or anything like that?
Yeah, it was basically catch the resident in a compromised position and take care of him.
What was the
Take care of
compromise?
him.
What's the compromising position?
If I can catch him out, it'll be fine. If I can catch him in the house,
Catch him where you could.
catch him.
Had you discussed with Sheriff at this point, got guns, going to Atlanta, what's your payment? What were you going to get for this thing?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering the whole time.
You were wondering that the whole time.
Yeah.
Would you ever ask her?
Payments was never discussed at that time.
The payment wasn't discussed? Is that what you said?
It was just known that you would be fully compensated.
There was an understanding.
I understand.
When she called you and told you to go to Atlanta, do you remember, were you supposed to go that same day? Or
Same day.
you were supposed to go the same day? And did you go to Atlanta that same day?
No, sir.
Did you go to Atlanta that next day?
No, sir.
Well, tell us what you did.
Man, I just stayed at the house.
Did you tell her you went to Atlanta?
Yeah, I told her when she called, I said I went to Atlanta, didn't find her.
Did she like that?
No, she got upset.
You think she believed you that she even went?
No, she didn't believe.
She didn't believe you. And had you actually gone at all?
No, sir. She
Sounds
knew I
like
was,
you were being a bit of a con man.
yeah, I was. She knew I was lying. With my cousin.
Did she get mad at you?
Yeah.
Did she fuss at you?
I mean, she was like, ain't fussing at me, but she was telling me, yeah, I'm upset. We need to get this done. We need to take care of this. And blah, blah, blah.
What happens next?
What happened next is she calls me up, or I don't know if it was through text or through a call, but she told me to come up there. She had somebody, to go with me. She still wanted to go to Atlanta. She said she had just been from Atlanta, and she left one of the doors, one of the windows unlocked.
She said, so there's a couple things here. She said that she had just got back from Atlanta.
Got back from Atlanta.
And she said she had left some, what'd you say?
The windows unlocked
Some windows unlocked.
Right.
Windows unlocked where?
at that condominium.
Lorenzen's condominium?
Correct.
And she said she had somebody to go with you?
Yes, sir.
Did she tell you on the phone who that person was that was going to go with you?
Yes, sir.
Who was that?
Billy.
And did that surprise you at all?
No, sir.
Because Billy had been at the other meetings.
Correct.
After that phone call, did you in fact hook up with Billy to go to Atlanta?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember how that happened?
I was supposed to go up to Memphis to get him, but they ended up coming down, and we drove from there.
You say they ended up coming down.
Him and Sheriff came down.
And who drove? Shara and Billy come down from Memphis to Batesville.
Correct.
And then does anybody drive from Batesville to Atlanta to do this thing?
Me and Billy.
You and Billy. And what vehicle do y'all take from Memphis to Atlanta to do these things?
Gray Dodge.
Same car that we saw a picture of.
I don't know if it's the same car, but a car like similar.
Well, yeah, that car's all torn up and
Yeah.
it has all that damage to it. But same color, same
Similar.
style. Who drives?
A tandem.
Is
You
that-
drag some miles, I drag.
Okay. You and Billy discuss what's y'all are on the way to do?
Yeah, we did a few discussions, and you know, just wasn't a lot of chatter, but I got the consensus that we was on the same page. That we knew 90% of the chance that Lorenzo was not going to be at the house.
Is that going to be good news or bad news for you?
That was good news for us.
That was good news for you. So you got this was good news for you. Is that right?
Yes, I got the
Yes.
consensus that it was good news for Billy.
Did you have a gun with you?
Yes, sir.
Did Billy have a gun with him?
Yes, sir.
And the idea was that y'all were going to Atlanta to kill Lorenzo.
Correct.
Is that correct? And it was good news to you that 90% chance Lorenzo ain't going to be there.
Correct.
And by consensus, you mean you felt it was good news for Billy too?
Yes.
That Lorenzo 90% wasn't going to be there.
Wasn't going to be there.
And if he wasn't there, y'all come back to Memphis.
Yes, yes, sir.
And there's no killing.
No killing.
And guess you got to report back to Shara.
Yes, sir.
She didn't fuss at you, but she was upset at you the first time.
Correct.
Is she going to be upset again?
Well, this time I got a person that was there to witness that we went.
This time you got a partner.
Yeah,
So she'll know this time that you went
correct.
to Memphis, or to Atlanta,
Until now.
and he just wasn't there.
Correct.
Now, do you remember what gun you had with you?
I believe I had the 25 with me.
And did you say Billy had a gun too?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, tell me about getting to Atlanta. Did y'all know where to go?
Yes, sir. I know where Lorraine lives.
You knew where he lived. Tell me about going there. I mean, once y'all get there, tell me what y'all did, where y'all parked, if y'all waited. Tell me what happens.
When we got there, we parked outside the condominium complex. We went through the little side area, through a couple of buildings. And when we got to his condominium, it was a window unlocked.
Let me back up. Let me back up. Did y'all wait once y'all parked? You said you parked outside the condos,
Correct.
outside the complex.
The complex.
Is that right? Did y'all wait around for a while, or is this something y'all were gonna park, y'all go do it?
As soon as we parked.
Okay. As soon as you park. And these condos that he lived in, can you describe them sort of like in terms of could y'all have parked right in front of his condo? Could y'all have gotten into the complex?
Yeah, you can get it to the side of the complex, but it ain't where you want to be if you're finna do a caper.
Okay. So to do a caper, you're gonna park outside.
Correct.
And you said snuck behind some buildings or something?
Between the condos.
And at that time, did you have a gun with you?
Yes, sir.
Billy had his gun with you?
Yes, sir.
Did y'all wear any special clothing or anything?
No, sir.
All right, so we're not talking about professional hitting it here, are we?
No, sir.
But y'all both got guns, park outside the complex, sneak through some buildings, and go to the back.
Correct.
And do you remember, shift gears here for a second, in 2012 when you came forward with the police, they showed you a picture of this complex?
Yes, sir.
And did you actually identify it as the complex and make markings about where y'all parked and the possible location of Lorenzen's condo in this cluster?
Yes, sir.
Let me pass you this and ask you if you recognize this back from 2012.
Yes, sir.
And what is that?
This is a picture of the condominium complex.
And have you
It's
made
like
some,
an aerial view.
Yeah. Back 10 years ago, did you make some markings on that picture?
Yes, sir.
You indicated at least 2 different things, right?
Yes, about 3 times.
All right, what did you indicate on there?
That this is a complex, well part, and the possible location of the condominium.
I'd let that notice as a set. Off that notice, say 600 years ago.
Ms. Thomas and or Mr. Perry, have you seen this document? Yeah, that's it.
No,
Interjection.
no objection.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. This would be exhibit number 7474. It's a Google area map identified by Mr. Martin as Lorenzen Complex, exhibit 74. Let me proceed, Mr. Hagerman.
My publisher's Your Honor.
Yes, sir, you may.
There's a complex. Possible location. Part.
Let me intercede
I may
for a
need
second.
that.
Yes, sir. Hold this hand to the jury. And,
That may be better.
yes,
Sure,
sir.
it's small.
But it's right, it's small, and it may be better for them to have it in their hands so they can take a look at it.
So You and Billy were behind Lorenzen's condo. I didn't ask you, is this daytime or nighttime?
It's at night.
Dark? Y'all are behind Lorenzen's condo in the nighttime, both with guns, is that right?
Correct.
What do y'all do once y'all get
You enter through a back window.
there? Was it in
Actually,
fact
it's
a
a
window?
back side window.
It says a backside window?
Correct.
First floor?
First floor.
Front of the house or back of the house?
He's on the back of the side of the house.
Back side of the house? Was it unlocked, in fact?
Correct.
Do you remember who pushed the window up? You or Bill?
I don't know who, but may have been me and may have been Bill.
I don't remember. After the window's pushed up, what do y'all have to do to get in the window? Can y'all step in? You have to climb in? What?
Just a small climb in.
Or just talk a little bit louder, okay? Because we're about 3 feet from you, I'm straining, so I'm sure those folks in the last row probably have a hard time here. So
It was a small climb in.
Yeah, so it's much better.
Y'all come in that window. What type of room are you in?
When we get in, it's like a game room,
What do you mean by game room?
like a pool table, PlayStation.
Do you remember there being a pool table in the room?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember what color it was?
It was red.
Do you remember anything else that was in the room?
Yeah, it was a PlayStation, lounge seats, TV,
So, like you said, playroom, game room.
little game room.
Was anybody in that room?
No, sir.
Were y'all trying to be quiet?
Yes, sir.
Where'd you have your guns?
Wasted in the waistband.
Waistband? Both of you?
Yeah, when we entered the room, we did.
Once y'all got in the room, what'd you do with your guns?
We drew.
In your hands?
Yes, sir.
What do y'all do?
We headed to the living room.
Where's
which
that?
was, it seems like a little living room or a den.
Okay.
It was to the left.
To the left of the room you came in?
Yes, sir.
Was there anybody in the living room?
There was someone sleeping on the couch.
There's a couch in the living room?
Yes, sir.
There was someone sleeping on the couch. Could you tell who that person was?
No, sir.
Do you know whether or not it was Lorenzen?
Knew right away it wasn't a ring
Why is that?
because of the stature.
Smaller than Lorenzen?
Way small.
Way small.
Yes, sir.
This person wake up?
No, sir.
How close to this person did y'all get?
Hand distance, arm distance.
3 feet?
Yes, sir.
Y'all being quiet when you walked up next to him?
Yes, sir.
Either one of y'all point a gun at him?
No, sir. Not that I remember. I didn't point one.
What'd y'all do with this person 3 feet from you?
Nothing. We left him. We left where we was at.
Did y'all leave the condo?
Promptly after we realized it wasn't nobody there.
Promptly after you?
Yeah, promptly after we seen there was somebody else there other than the reason we left.
How'd y'all leave?
It was the same way we came.
Did y'all shut the window behind you?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember who did that?
I don't know.
Were you scared in that condo?
No, sir.
No, sir. As you left the condo, did y'all go back to the car?
Yes, sir.
Fast or slow?
Just a regular pace.
Did y'all go behind the buildings again, or did you go out to the neighborhood?
Went through the same way we came.
Did y'all see anybody in the backyards or anything like that?
No, sir.
Did y'all make it to the car
Yes, sir.
undetected?
Yes, sir.
Nobody to watch it? Y'all get back to the car, did y'all talk to each other?
Yes, sir.
Did y'all talk to each other before y'all got back to the car?
No, sir.
Y'all back to the car, what y'all talking about?
Just like relieved that we did everything witness plan. We didn't want to do anything anyway. We just,
Y'all are relieved.
yeah, just checking it off the box.
And you used the word consensus before. Is that how Billy appeared to feel too?
Yes, sir.
And is that how he talked too?
Yes, sir.
So we're back in the car with our guns. We're relieved that we didn't have to do anything. Where do we go?
We leave and go park at a restaurant for a few minutes, gather our thoughts.
Do you remember now what restaurant it was?
No, sir.
Do you remember in a prior statement saying you thought it was an IHOP restaurant?
It could have been an IHOP or a Huddle House or something. Some kind of
Did y'all
restaurant.
go in the restaurant?
No, sir.
What did y'all do in the car?
Just sat there and waited, rested, and headed back to Memphis.
Chilled out, I guess.
Get chilled out. It was a long drive.
Do you remember any conversations in the car while y'all were in that parking lot?
No, sir.
Did y'all leave that parking lot and start driving back to Memphis? I mean, did you start driving back to Memphis or Batesville or where?
We had the same general area.
Do you remember conversations on the ride home?
On the ride home, the only conversation I believe we had was about how this is getting too ridiculous.
This thing's getting too ridiculous? When y'all talking about this thing getting too
We're talking about
ridiculous,
this plot that Sheriff had hatched.
did y'all both agree that it was getting too ridiculous?
Yes, sir.
At this point on the drive back, has anybody contacted Shara to tell her this didn't happen?
I believe Billy told me that he had when we stopped for gas that he contacted her. That he contacted Sheriff and told her everything. Didn't mention him.
And did he relay to her, to you, what her response was or what she thought about that?
No, sir.
Back to basic for you? Or?
Get back to basics with me.
Do you remember what became of the two guns at that point? You said you had the smaller gun, the 25 with you, and Billy had a different gun with him.
Yes,
You
sir.
remember what happened with the guns when you got back?
I kept the one I had.
You kept the one you had?
I don't know what happened to the next one.
As far as you know, did Billy keep the one he had?
Yes, sir.
That takes us through June of 2010. You and I have talked about some Facebook messages. Is that correct?
Correct.
Messages between you and Shara. From late June into July of 2010. Is that right?
I believe so.
I even had you read the messages. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
correct? Would you agree with me that you and Shara are speaking in some sort of rude code or something about things in these messages?
Yes, sir.
This is, for the record, already an exhibit. This is
Yes, sir.
Exhibit 70.
Yes, sir.
Facebook message from Jay Martin on June 24th. Facebook message to Jay Martin on June the 24th. About your beats, any luck on getting all the new equipment? I'm still asking people who I think you could get deals from. Let me know. Love you. You respond, no luck, still looking to win the party. What are y'all talking about?
Right there, we're talking about guns.
Talking about guns? Was there a reason why y'all needed new guns?
Because the guns that she supplied was small caliber, 25, 38, and one of them was way too large, 357.
Okay, so yeah, you got 25, just small caliber. 38, small caliber.
Caliber.
357, which is an enormous gun.
Too large of a caliber.
And did you not like those calibers to do this stuff?
Those are not guns you want to go in to a battle with. Those self-defense guns.
And so she's asking you, any luck on getting all the new equipment, guns? I'm still looking for people who I think I could get deals from, guns from. And your response, no look, no luck, still looking to win the party. Is that right?
Correct.
And y'all are going to talk about a party throughout these. What's the party?
The party is when it's where and when.
Where
Lorenzo
and when
is
what's
gonna
going
be-
to happen?
Correct.
When Lorenzo's going to get killed.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
And then we have a message in July the 4th. I'm sharing it to you. Man, you drive me crazy with this party. We keep getting our days and times mixed up. We were supposed to go to Atlanta one time, it didn't go.
Correct.
We went to Atlanta with Billy the second time, and it didn't happen.
Amen.
What you gonna do? We got all our ends. You know who she's talking about? She says we.
No.
Well, who all was at this meeting?
Objection, Your Honor, that's been answered. He doesn't know.
He asked another question, who all was at the meeting, so he left that first question alone. Mr. Perry actually asked another question. The last question was, who all was at this meeting?
Did he get an answer? Do we have an answer to the last question, Your Honor? Because I think he tried to answer it and he started
Mr.
talking.
Perry,
I'm asking a question, Your Honor.
I understand if you listen to the answers, you would understand he asked the question, he said he didn't know, then he asked him who all was at the meeting. He asked a different question when he got the answer to the first question.
The answer to the first question is he didn't know.
Yes, sir. And he asked another question, who all was at the party, at the meeting, rather. See,
Who's the meeting?
Who all was at the meeting? It was me, Billy, and Cheryl.
And who all was in the car with you going to Atlanta?
It was me and Billy.
What else you need? Because I can't find another DJ this late. I want to do it before the 18th. Do you know why she went before the 18th?
No clue.
Do you know that Lorenzo's coming in town on the 18th?
Didn't have a clue.
Because we got the family reunion and other stuff coming up. Give me a holler back, let me know something. You respond 3 days later. So this was $300 left. What are you talking about there?
So this is what's up, $300 left. This might be in response to something that was called on the phone.
Okay, because did you communicate with Sharon more than in one way?
Correct.
Would you talk to her in person?
Talk to her in person,
Would you talk to her on the phone?
talk to her on the phone,
Would you talk to her through Facebook?
and through Facebook,
Were there any other ways you all communicate with each other?
text.
Text. Towel in Florida had the concert there. Do you know what's that about?
It's just a misprint there. This show was in Florida.
Whose show?
Show had a concert in Florida.
Okay. Do you know what? Yeah, towel doesn't make much sense. You know what word that's supposed to be?
Show.
Show in Florida had the concert there.
Yeah.
And had you actually had a concert in Florida?
Correct.
You want me to go to a party, we're talking McKillop, is that right?
Correct.
Adult theme, but the party has kids. When is it going to be an all-adult party, or how to plan around that? Also got to plan around my contacts there, then a rental. Let's take this piece by piece. What do you mean when you talk about adult theme, party having kids, stuff like that?
When this text, I was driving, so someone was typing for me, but it was saying, I was like, man, is it 21 and over, meaning don't have anybody around,
Okay, so you mean nobody around at all?
you know.
So you aren't necessarily talking about
We're not
kids?
talking about kids as in kids, but
Okay. Could we almost replace that word kids with witnesses?
correct,
No witnesses around?
correct.
We got to plan a party without witnesses and how to plan around that.
Correct.
Do you know what the thing about also got to plan around my contacts there and then a rental was about?
Because at that point in time, it's really saying my contacts there was who else is who I'm supposed to be coming up here to talk to get this accomplished.
Okay. You're asking her who you're supposed to come pick up to get
Yeah.
this done. Is that correct?
Because this was my plan right here. Whatever this plan was.
And You and Billy have already gotten back from Atlanta.
Yeah.
That's over with. Is it okay to throw the party outside? And you respond, I got you. You know what that means?
I get you.
But I mean, as far as outside, she's
Oh.
literally talking about having it done outside.
Yes, sir.
Back to the kids witnesses thing. You say that you're concerned about the noise and the neighbors,
Correct.
but it'll have to work if there's no other way.
Correct.
A series of texts from her that you don't respond to over the course of a week, July the 7th to July the 13th. She's asking during that week, are we still on? What's up? We still on? And your response, tying loose ends, moving studios, change of plan. The artist can't find any equipment. He can trade or sell my big keyboard. That's what I'm trying to do. The other two are cool, but I need a 9-inch studio monitor. Don't want people sweat and stuff burning up in the non-AC junk. We have to rent something to haul all this. Too much hassle cleaning up. Don't want to be riding dirty. Then the money got to cover our ass. What are we talking about there?
It's talking about getting rid of the 357 Magnum. But at the time we had already replaced the 38. Remember I had sold the 38 and he got a 9. So I'm saying the other two cool, the 25 and the 9 is cool. So we gotta get rid of this 357 Magnum somehow.
And it's the 357, the big keyboard,
It's a big.
and 9-inch studio monitor. What's that?
Get another 9.
You need money for something? I got 200. Try to find the monitors. Those are speakers. Everybody uses them. I can't find them around here. Can't afford new ones. Let me know. He should be able to help. Then I'll scoop him, and we good. He should be able to help, and I scoop him, and we good. Who are you talking about?
At this time, I
Let me show you this here real quick.
Yes, sir.
Just this one here.
what time?
Is
Is that 14?
Yeah. July 14th.
I think I'm talking about whoever found her first gun. He should be able to help. I'm not talking about a particular person at this time.
Okay. So
Whoever
get the
found
guns.
them last ones for you, he should be able to help you find some more. You keep asking me about it.
And then the next text is actually not text, I'm sorry, Facebook message is from Shara.
But it's from a text.
Yeah. Is from Shara to you, and it's actually 2 days after the murder. I give up, nothing's working out, everything is too high, including getting the pool up and running, Memphis pool. You've read this text, haven't you?
Yes, sir.
What's this thing about?
That's what she's just tying up loose ends.
What do you mean by-
I believe she was either went to a grand jury or somebody was talking to her and she told me they was saying she didn't end none of her phone calls with me, so I guess it was her trying to end
Okay, when you say somebody's talking to you, you mean the police?
the police.
When you say tying up loose ends, I think I understand what you're saying. Y'all have all these previous messages about a party out there hanging, right?
Correct.
And is this an attempt by her to try to close that hanging?
They closed it, the argument with that statement.
After that, on 7/22, you tell her you need to call Auntie. Who are you talking about when you say Auntie?
Talking about my mom.
Okay, is that done?
Correct.
And then on 7/23, 4 days after the murder, you text her and you say, says you found it. No, if it's a statement or a question or what, it says you found it. And she does not respond. And then there's no other text with you and her until September. It's just what's good, and that's it. When you say you found it, what are you talking about? The 23rd.
That time, I believe she was they was looking for a gun they had lost, or a gun she had lost.
Let's start talking about that. We are now well into July of 2010. We've seen that you and Shara are still.
And it was looking at the time and issues, talking to the lawyers to see about how much more time Mr. Hagerman thought he might have on direct examination. And I don't set time limits on lawyers. The law says have to give lawyers adequate but not excessive time to present their cases. Mr. Martin is not going to finish his testimony tonight. By the time Mr. Hagerman finishes and the cross-examination is done, it could be getting later into the evening than I would want to get. As I told you, we try to stop every day about 5:15 or 5:30. So remember the last question that was asked, because judges have really bad minds. Lawyers have really bad minds too. And so I don't want to run the risk of repeating a lot of what you heard today. So we're going to stop today at the last question that Mr. Hagerman asked. He might ask some other questions just to put it back in the perspective as to where we stop today. But we'll start tomorrow morning at 9:30. I think you have 10 cases set on the docket tomorrow morning. We're going to resume the trial at 9:30. Mr. Martin will resume the direct examination, and Mr. Perry and or Mr. Thomas will ask questions on cross-examination. You cannot discuss the case with anyone. You cannot discuss the case amongst yourselves. Let me know if the accommodations are okay. Let me know if the food is good. Let me know if the deputies are doing better. For those folks that love Memphis basketball, they actually won that game today by 11 points. Then they get to face Gonzaga in the second round. It may not be looking too promising. We'll see you back tomorrow morning at 9:30. You can follow Deputy Smith, please. Mr. Martin, we're going to resume your testimony tomorrow morning at 9:30. You cannot discuss your testimony with any of the lawyers overnight. And we'll see you back at 9:30 tomorrow morning. Just remain seated for a second, please, sir. Yes, sir. Martin, they actually follow right here to where Deputy Phillips is, please, sir. Watch yourself. Ms. Jones, you need to talk to Mr. Martin?
Yes, sir.
Go through. For the record, the jury is out before we adjourn for the evening. Anything else we need to discuss? Of course, stand adjourned to 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, Friday, March 18. Thank you, Madam Clerk. For the regular clock, docket rather 9:30 for the continuation of the trial.
All right. Of course, stand adjourned to tomorrow morning, March 18th.